وإذا وجهه يتلألأ كأنه في بدر في ليلة تمامه وكماله. فما كانت إلا ساعة وإذا بولدي الحسن قد أقبل وقال السلام عليك يا أمه، فقلت وعليك السلام يا قرة عيني وثمرة فؤادي. فقال يا أمه إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة جدي رسول الله. فقلت نعم إن جدك تحت الكساء. فاقبل الحسن نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا جداه يا رسول الله، أتأذن لي أن أدخل معك تحت الكساء؟ قال وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا صاحب حوضي، قد عظمت لك. فدخل معه تحت الكساء فما كانت إلا ساعة وإذا بولدي الحسين قد أقبل وقال السلام عليك يا أمه. فقلت وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا قرة عيني وثمرة فؤادي. فقال يا أمه إني أشم عندك رائحة جدي رسول الله. فقلت نعم إن جدك وأخاك تحت الكساء. فدنا الحسين نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا جده والسلام عليك يا من اختاره الله، أتأذن لي أن أدخل معكما تحت الكساء؟ فقال وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا شافع أمتي، قد عدنت لك. فدخل معهما تحت الكساء فأقبل عند ذلك أبو الحسن علي بن أبي طالب وقال السلام عليك يا بنت رسول الله. فقلت وعليك السلام يا أبا الحسن ويا أمير المؤمنين. فقال يا فاطمة إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة أخي وابن عمي رسول الله. فقلت نعم ها هو مع ولديك تحت الكساء. فأقبل لديك تحت الكساء فأقبل علي نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا رسول الله، أتأذن لي أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء؟ قال له وعليك السلام يا أخي ويا وسي وخليفتي وصاحب لوائي، قد عدمت لك. فدخل علي تحت الكساء ثم أتيت نحو الكساء وقلت السلام عليك يا أبداه يا رسول الله، أتأذن لي أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء؟ قال وعليك السلام يا بنتي ويا بضعتي، قد عدنت لك. فدخلت تحت الكساء فلما أكتملنا جميعا تحت الكساء أخذ أبي رسول الله بطرف الكساء وهو بيده اليمنى إلى السماء وقال اللهم إن هؤلاء أهل بيتي وخاصتي وهامتي، لحمهم لحمي ودمهم دمي، يؤلمني ما يؤلمهم ويحزنني ما يحزنهم. أنا حرب لمن حاربهم وسلم لمن سالمهم وعدو لمن عاداهم ومحب لمن أحبهم، إنهم مني وأنا منهم، فاجعل صلواتك وبركاتك ورحمتك وغفرانك ورضوانك علي وعليهم، واذهب عنكم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. فقال الله عز وجل: يا ملائكتي ويا سكان سماواتي، إني ما خلقت سماء مبنيا ولا أرضا مدحيا ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مضيئا ولا فلكا يدور ولا بحرا يجري ولا فلكا يسري إلا في محبة هؤلاء الخمسة الذين هم تحت الكساب. فقال الأمين جبرائيل: يا رب ومن تحت الكساب؟ فقال عز وجل: هم أهل بيت النبوة ومعدن الرسالة، هم فاطمة وأبوها وبعلها وبنوها. فقال جبرائيل: يا رب أتأذن أن أحبط إلى الأرض لأكون معهم سادسا؟ فقال الله: نعم، قد عزمت لك. فحبط الأمين جبرائيل وقال: السلام عليك يا رسول الله. العلي الأعلى يقرئك السلام ويخشك بالتحية والإكرام ويقول لك: وعزتي وجلالي إني ما خلقت سماء مبنيا ولا أرضا مدحيا ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مضيا ولا فلكا يدور ولا بحرا يجري ولا فلكا يسري إلا لأجلكم ومحبتكم، وقد أذن لي أن أدخل معكم، فهل تأذن لي يا رسول الله؟ فقال رسول الله: وعليك السلام يا أمين وحي الله، إنه نعم قد عدلت لك. فدخل جبرائيل معنا تحت الكساء فقال لأبي: إن الله قد أوحى إليكم يقول: إنما يريد الله ليذهب عنكم الرجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا. فقال علي لأبي: يا رسول الله، أخبرني ما لجلوسنا هذا تحت الكساء من الفضل عند الله. فقال النبي صلى الله عليه وآله: والذي بعثني بالحق نبيا واصطفاني بالرسالة نجيا، ما ذكر قبرنا هذا في محفل من محافل أهل الأرض، وفيه جماعة من شيعتنا ومحبينا، إلا ونزلت عليهم الرحمة وحفت بهم الملائكة واستغفرت لهم بلا أن يتفرقوا. فقال علي عليه السلام: إذا والله فزنا وفاز شيعتنا ورب الكعبة. فقال أبي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله: يا علي، والذي بعثني بالحق نبيا واصطفاني بالرسالة نجيا، ما ذكر خبرنا هذا في محفل من محافل محافل أهل الأرض وفيه جمع من شيعتنا ومحبينا وفيهم مهموم لله وفرج الله حما إله يمين ولا مغموم لله وكشف الله غما إله يمين ولا طالب حاجة إلا وقضى الله حاجة إله يمين فقال علي عليه السلام إذا والله فزنا وسعدنا وكذلك شيعتنا فازوا وسعدوا في الدنيا والآخرة ورب الكعبة.
ताजिल ज़ुहूर इमाम ज़मान अलैहिस्सलाम अंदर सलावत अल्लाहुम्मा सल्लि अला मुहम्मद व आलि मुहम्मद। रोई ज़ंजीर सजाद के कदमों से लिपट कर रोए जंजीर जब हटाई गई कदमों से तो हट कर रोए जंजीर। सात आबेद के रही बन के अज़ादार हुसैन तारे अश्के में सरवर में सिमट कर रोही जंजीर। सर खुले देख के बलवे में नबी की इतरत खून में डूब गई खाक में अटकर रोई जंजीर। देखने वाला न था कोई जहाद आबिद का कूफा शाम का दरबार उलट कर रोई जंजीर। थर थराने लगा अब्बास से जरी का लाशा जाते जाते जो सुए नहर पलट कर रोई जंजीर। देके पैगाम शहीदों का लहू देती हुई एक एक हल्काए जंजीर में बट कर रोई जंजीर। रोई जंजीर सज्जाद के कदमों से लिपट कर रोई जंजीर। सलावत अल्लाहुम्मा सल्लि अला मुहम्मद व आले मुहम्मद। महमूद भाई से मुल्तमिस हूं कि तशरीफ लाएं। अगर बच्चे पढ़ेंगे तो आप नहीं पढ़ेंगे।
मोहम्मद वाले मोहम्मद सल्लल्लाहु मोहम्मद। रेहान आदमी साहब का कलाम। मौलाना साहब इजाज़त। जिसकी नज़रों में गमे करबो बला रहता है, जिसकी नज़रों में गमे करबो बला रहता है, सर पे उसके अलमे शेर खुदा रहता है। जिक्र शब्बीर की तासीर तो देखे दुनिया, जिक्र शब्बीर की तासीर तो देखे दुनिया। शामिल जिक्र सरे अर्शे खुदा रहता है। शाम का नाम सरे शाम न लो आबिस से, शाम का नाम सरे शाम न लो आबिस से। सुबह तक जख्म कलेजे का हरा रहता है। हिंद कहती थी बताओ कि ये बीमार है कौन, हिंद कहती थी बताओ ये बीमार है कौन, जिसका सर शर्म से हर वक्त झुका रहता है। आओ शब्बीर की मजलिस में खुदा कर देखो, आओ शब्बीर की मजलिस में खुदा कर देखो। रोने वालों पे दरे खुल्द खुला रहता है। सारी बस्ती की हिफाजत के लिए काफी है, सारी बस्ती की हिफाजत के लिए काफी है। एक अलम ये जो मेरे घर पे सजा रहता है, क्या करीमी है कि सर कट के सरे नेज़ाबी, क्या करीमी है कि सर कट के सरे नेज़ाबी। उम्मते जद के लिए महवे दुआ रहता है। आँख रोती है तो ढल जाते हैं दागे असियाँ, आँख रोती है तो ढल जाते हैं दागे असियाँ। मौजज़ा ये भी सरे अर्शे अज़ा रहता है। पानी को देख के कहती थी सकीना ठहरो, पानी को देख के कहती थी सकीना ठहरो। यहीं नजदीक कहीं मेरा चचा रहता है। जिक्र शब्बीर का ये फैज़ है कैसा रेहान, जिक्र शब्बीर का ये फैज़ है कैसा रेहान। जिक्र तेरा भी सरे अर्शे अज़ा रहता है।
नारे सलवा, ये जनाजा है अली का शाह खैबर गिर का, ये जनाजा है अली का, ये जनाजा है अली का शाह खैबर गिर का, ये जनाजा है अली का। आज बाबा मर गया है शबरो शबीर का, ये जनाजा है अली का, ये जनाजा है अली का शाह खैबर गिर का, ये जनाजा है अली का। फातिमा ज़हरा के मरकद से सदा आने लगी, फातिमा ज़हरा के मरकद से सदा आने लगी, है सदा आने लगी। ये मसाइब रह गया था क्या मेरी तकदीर का, ये जनाजा है अली का, ये जनाजा है अली का शाह खैबर गिर का, ये जनाजा है अली का। या रसूल अल्लाह ये जिब्रील ने रोकर कहा, या रसूल अल्लाह ये जिब्रील ने रोकर कहा, हाँ ये रोकर कहा। एक हल्का और टूटा नूर की जंजीर का, ये जनाजा है अली का, ये जनाजा है अली का शाह खैबर गिर का, ये जनाजा है अली का। क्यों चलाई तेग है दर पर बिने मुलजिम बता, क्यों चलाई तेग है दर पर बिने मुलजिम बता। बिने मुलजिम बता, कत्ल कुरान कर दिया, काटा गला तफसीर का, ये जनाजा है अली का, ये जनाजा है अली का, शाह खैबर गिर का, ये जनाजा है अली का। नारे सलवात।
बर मोहम्मद वाले मोहम्मद सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम। जगह जी इजाजत। अकबर तुझे करबल की सहर ढूंढ रही है, तुझ जैसे मुअज़्ज़िन को फजर ढूंढ रही है। अकबर तुझे करबल की सहर ढूंढ रही है, तुझ जैसे मुअज़्ज़िन को सहर ढूंढ रही है। मेरे जमालाल जरा देख के जाना, मेरे जमालाल जरा देख के जाना, बरछी तेरा मकतल में जिगर ढूंढ रही है, तुझ जैसे मुअज़्ज़िन को फजर ढूंढ रही है। मालूम है मादर को नहीं झूले में असगर, मालूम है मादर को मगर नहीं झूले में असगर, ममता की तड़प देखो मगर ढूंढ रही है, तुझ जैसे मुअज़्ज़िन को फजर ढूंढ रही है। ना मोहम्मद की बिनते अली को शबीर का लाशों में कमर ढूंढ रही है, तुझ जैसे मोहज़न को फजर ढूंढ रही है। हैरान है सभी लोग तेरे लाश पे कासिम, हैरान है सभी लोग तेरे लाश पे कासिम। माहून की गठड़ी में पिसर ढूंढ रही है, तुझ जैसे मोहज़न को फजर ढूंढ रही है। है वक्त विदा चूम लूं मैं सीनाए अकबर, विदा चूम लूं मैं सीनाए अकबर। गश खाती हुई लैला हशर ढूंढ रही है, तुझ जैसे मोहज़न को फजर ढूंढ रही है। अकबर तुझे करबल की सहर ढूंढ रही है, तुझ जैसे मोहज़न को सर ढूंढ रही है। बर मोहम्मद वाले मोहम्मद सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम।
और मोहम्मद वाले मोहम्मद सलावत अल्लाहुम्मा सल्ली अला मोहम्मद मोहम्मद वाजिल फरज याकूत गे पड़े लहू रोने लगा सहजा, याकूत गिर पड़े लहू रोने लगा सहजा। गैरत का शहंशाह था, गैरत का शहंशाह था, बन में हुआ बर्बाद। याकूत गिर पड़े लहू रोने लगा सजा। बाबा के सर को देखा नो के सिन जब नो के सिना पर आँखों के सामने हुआ बर्बाद सारा घर। जब तड़पी सकीना तो जब तड़पी सकीना तो करते हुए फरियाद याकूत गिर पड़े लहू रोने लगा सज्जाद। छीनी गई रिदाएं कैसे भला भुलाएं। रो रो के पूछें बीबियाँ अब हम कहाँ को जाएं। उरियान सर जो देखे उरियान सर जो देखे ऐसा हुआ नाशाद याकूत गिर पड़े लहू रोने लगा सज्जाद। नामों से पैगंबर को बाजार में जब लाए मंजर शराबियों के कैसे भला भुलाए। रस्सियों में जकड़ी देखी रस्सियों में जकड़ी देखी ज़हरा की जो औलाद याकूत गिर पड़े लहू रोने लगा सज्जाद। जंजीर तोक बेड़ी और प्यासा कई दिल का मारे इतने ताजियां ने ना हिसाब कोई जिनका। शिद्दत है धूप की और शिद्दत है धूप की और तपने लगा फौलाद याकूत गिर पड़े लहू रोने लगा सज्जाद। गैरत का शहंशाह था बन में हुआ बर्बाद याकूत गिर पड़े लहू रोने लगा सज्जाद। दुरूद पर मोहम्मद व आले मोहम्मद। अल्लाहुम्मा सल्लि अला मुहम्मद।
किबला की सेहत और सलामती के लिए खुशनुदी मोहम्मद व आले मोहम्मद बुलंदर सलावत। अल्लाहुम्मा सल्ली अला मोहम्मद। नारे तकबीर, नारे रिसालत, नारे हैदरी, हैदरी, हुसैनियत, यजीदियत, नारे सलावत। अल्लाहुम्मा सल्ली।
Please, brothers and sisters, before we begin, recite Surah Fatiha for your marhumeen and for the marhumeen of those mu'mineen mu'minat that do not have anyone to recite Surah Fatiha on their behalf. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Maliki yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdinas siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta alaihim. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. اللهم اغفرهم وارحمهم واسكنهم بجوار محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي لا يبلغ مدحته القائلون ولا يوصينا معه العادون ولا يؤدي حقه المجتهدون الذي لا يدركه بهد الهمم ولا يناله غوث الفتن الذي ليس لصفته حد محدود ولا نعت موجود ولا وقت محدود ولا أجل ممدود فترى الخلائق بقدرته ونشر الرياح برحمته ووتد بالسخر ميدان عرض ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وحبيبنا وحبيب رب العالمين بالقاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيت الطيبين الطاهرين واللعن على أعدائهم أجمعين من أول يوم ظلمهم إلى قيام يوم الدين أما بعد فقال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه المبين وقوله الحق بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وإذ ابتلى إبراهيم ربه بكلمات فأتمهن قال إني جاعلك للناس إماما قال ومن ذريتي قال لا ينال عهد الظالمين صدق الله العلي العظيم. Dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this verse of the Quran which I started this lecture off with, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in this verse that, and when his Lord, when talking about Hazrat Ibrahim, this verse talks about when his Lord tried Ibrahim with certain words, he fulfilled them. Hazrat Ibrahim, he fulfilled those words, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, surely I will make you an imam of men. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is making Hazrat Ibrahim an imam over men. And that's when Hazrat Ibrahim, he asked, Ya Allah, what about my offspring? Ya Allah, what about my zuriyat? That's when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala replies, Ya Ibrahim, La yanalu ahdi zalimin. This covenant, this ahad of mine is not for the zalimin, is not for the unjust. When it comes to this topic of imamat, and we had said earlier that when it came to Imam Zain al-Abideen's time, there was also a disagreement about who the imam of that time was. And I said that one of the ways that Imam Zain al-Abideen, he got rid of this misconception was that he took Muhammad Hanafiya in the time of Hajj, he took him to Hajj, and they both asked Hajar Aswad who the true Imam was. And when Imam Zain al-Abideen asked, that's when Hajar Aswad answered saying that in this time period, the rightful Imam is Ali ibn al-Hussein ibn Ali. That's what Hajar Aswad said. So when it comes to this topic of Imamat, it's not just that there was a difference of opinion between Shias and Sunnis. There was a difference of opinion about who Imam was to be within the Shia community itself. And because Imamat at that time, a lot of the Shias, they believed that Imamat was a covenant that was just being given to the eldest child. Meaning what? Meaning that Imamat was only belonging in the lineage of Imam Ali alayhi salam. Imam Hassan alayhi salam, he was the oldest, so he was Imam. After Imam Hassan alayhi salam, Imam Hussain alayhi salam, he was the next oldest, so he was Imam. After Imam Hussain alayhi salam was Shaheed, the disagreement came. Why? Because Imam Zain al-Abideen was no longer the son of Imam Ali alayhi salam. But there were still children of Imam Ali that were alive. One of those children was Muhammad Hanafiya, because the Shias of that time believed that Imamat was just in the offspring of Imam Ali. As long as a child of Imam Ali alayhi salam is alive, then the grandkids will not have Imamat. They will not have Imamat. This was that misconception that Shias had. Another misconception that the Shias had was that Imamat only and only goes to the eldest child. It only and only goes to the eldest child. This is why you have a difference of opinion about whether Imam Zain al-Abideen alayhi salam, he was the eldest child or he wasn't. And this misconception comes, why? Because at that time Shias believed that Imamat only and only goes to the eldest child. Imam Hassan eldest, after Imam Hussain alayhi salam. When Imam Hussain alayhi salam passed away, then who was supposed to be Imam? According to them, Imam Zain al-Abideen. Why? Because they believed that he was the eldest child. But in reality, when you look at the narrations, Imam Zain al-Abideen was not the oldest child. Imam Zain al-Abideen, he was the middle child. Imam Hussain alayhi salam, he himself, he had said that if I have 1,000 sons, I would name them all Ali. I would name them all Ali. Ali al-Akbar, eldest. Ali al-Awsat, the middle. Ali al-Asghar, the youngest. Ali al-Akbar, this laqab of Akbar was given to who? The eldest Ali, who was martyred in Karbala. The fact that Akbar itself means the oldest, it tells you that he was the oldest of the Alis. The fact that he's been given the laqab of Asghar tells you that he was the youngest of the Alis. If there was an older, there was a younger, in Imam Hussain he had a third child who was known as Ali al-Awsat. That Ali al-Awsat, this is what some of the ulama say, that Ali al-Awsat is Imam Zain al-Abideen alayhi salam. So it doesn't matter whether the child is the oldest, the middle, or the youngest. Imamat has nothing to do, or it has no bearing on whether or not the child is the oldest or not. Imamat has nothing to do with that. Imamat is an ukhda of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that He gives that ukhda to whoever He wills. Whoever He wills. This narration or this verse of the Quran, it tells us a few things. One, Imamat is not for me to give out. Imamat is not for the general, it's not for the awam to give out. It's not for us to decide who is the imam or not. No. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in this verse that this is one of my covenants and I will give out this covenant. And this covenant does not belong to the zalimeen. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala clearly says in this verse that this covenant does not belong to the zalimeen. When the topic of imamat is raised, there's a big uproar even within the Shia community. And they start saying, why are we talking about imamat? You know, imamat, it shows disunity within the Muslims. Where today we need to talk about Muslim unity, Muslim unity, Muslim unity. And the sad reality is that the Shias are the ones that want Muslim unity. They want Muslim unity. But the other side does not want Muslim unity. They don't want Muslim unity. They want us Shias to believe what they believe. They want us Shias to believe what they believe. And because of that, there are Shias today that don't want to talk about imamat. Why? Because it shows disunity. If it showed disunity, if it truly showed disunity, then the Holy Prophet would not have done Ghadir Qum. If it truly showed disunity, then Ayatul Balligh would not have been revealed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reveals Ayatul Balligh, where He says to the Holy Prophet, Ya ayyuha Rasul, balligh ma unzila ilayka min rabbik. Did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala not know that this verse of the Quran was going to show disunity within the ummah? Did He not know? Or did He not care? Why? Because the truth needed to be told. The truth needed to be told. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends down Ayatul Balligh. Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even in the Quran, what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say? Oh, you believe, why do you hide the truth when you know it? Why do you hide the truth when you know it? What's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala telling us? That if you know what the truth is, it becomes necessary for you to tell it. Why do you hide the truth when you know it? This is what kufr, truth. Kufr, what does kufr mean? Kufr, it means to hide. Kufr, it means to cover up, to hide. Why are those people that do not believe in Allah subhanahu, why are they called kafir? Because they're hiding the truth. They've covered up the truth. Even the mushrikeen of Makkah, did they not believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? No, they did believe in Allah. But what was their problem? They believed in all these other idols as gods also. They believed all the other idols as gods. Like the way, for example, today, in this day and age, the Hindus, they have all these idols that they believe to be gods, but they also believe in a being that is above them. A being that is way above them, and that being cannot be described. Correct? Hindus also have that belief. In that time period, the mushrikeen of Makkah, they also had that belief. That yes, there is a God. The Quran itself, it says, oh my Prophet, ask these people, who is it that raised the sky? They will surely say, it's Allah. It's Allah. So that means what? That means that they believed in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But that wasn't the only God that they believed in. They believed in other gods beside Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why the kalima of La ilaha illallah, there is no God but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, came into existence. Why? Because all of those gods that existed at that time, not just out here in the world, but all of the gods that people had imagined to be God, they all don't exist except for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's negating all of those idols that were there and saying that no, none of those exist except for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not want imamat to be known, then He wouldn't have revealed this verse of the Quran to Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam, where he says that what? This is an uhda of mine. This imamat that I'm giving you, this is a covenant of mine. And this covenant does not belong to the zalimeen. It does not belong to the zalimeen. So when it comes to imamat, there's some conditions that need to be fulfilled. There are certain conditions that need to be fulfilled for an individual to be an imam. One of the conditions in this verse is what? That individual cannot be a zalim. The verse clearly says that this oath is not for zalimeen. So from the Quran itself we get one condition. One condition is that the individual cannot be a zalim. So what's the definition of a zalim? What's the definition of a zalim? The definition of zulum, the definition of zalim, the definition, we went over this just quickly yesterday. Adalat means what? To put everything in its rightful place. That's what adalat means. And we went over this yesterday. Adalat means to put everything in its rightful place. Zulum means to not put it in its rightful place. One of the definitions of zulum. To not put it in its rightful place. And I gave the example, for example, a glove. A glove is meant to be worn on the hand. If I was to wear it on my feet, that is zulum. That is zulum. I've done zulum to that. Many of the people think that, you know what, zulum, when it comes to zulum, zulum only has to do with other human beings. No, zulum does not have to do with just other human beings. Meaning what? Meaning I can only do zulum to another human being. No, that's not true. That is not true. You can do zulum to animals. You can do zulum to animals. Animals are not human beings, but we can do zulum to them. On the day of judgment, we'll be asked about why we treated these animals this way. And the society that you and I live, for example, the only animals that become halal to eat, they only become halal to eat after slaughtering. The animals that are halal to eat, they become halal to eat after you slaughter them. If you kill an animal just for game or just for fun, for sport, you don't think Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will ask you on the day of judgment? The society that we live in, you all know that this is what they do. They go from here to parts of Africa just for what? Hunting animals as a sport. As a sport. Not to eat the meat, no, none of that. As a sport, just to have the heads of those animals as trophies in their homes. On the day of judgment, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will definitely ask. Why? Because that is zulum to that animal. So when it comes to zulum, it's not just between me and another human being. I can do zulum to an animal. I can do zulum to even things that are inanimate by not using them the way they're supposed to be used. That's still considered to be zulum. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran that this uhda of mine is not for the zalimeen. Imamat is not for the zalimeen. So what is imamat then? What is imamat? That's what we need to figure out. Imamat, is it what the Muslims have said today, that it's just leadership? Is it just leadership, political leadership? Is that what imamat is? Or no, is imamat something deeper than political leadership, where imamat just encompasses not just the worldly aspect of an individual, but the spiritual aspect of that individual also? What is the job of an imam? What is the job of a prophet? What's the difference between a prophet and an imam? When we answer those questions, then we'll come to the realization that imamat, after prophethood, is a station which cannot belong to anyone other than the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. Why? Because prophethood itself, the job of a prophet is to bring the wahi of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The job of a prophet is to bring the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The job of an imam is to safeguard that message. That's the job of the imam. To safeguard the message that the prophet brings. If you look at all of the people that the majority of Muslims consider to be imams, did those individuals safeguard the message of Rasulullah, or were they corrupting the message of Rasulullah? Look at, for example, the first Khalifa. Was he safeguarding the message of Rasulullah, or was he corrupting it? You look at the second Khalifa. Was he safeguarding it, or was he corrupting it? Third Khalifa, was he saving it, or was he corrupting it? If you say the third Khalifa, for example, the third Khalifa, if he was safeguarding the message of Rasulullah, then why was it that the Islamic Ummah killed him? The reason they killed him is because they themselves claimed that he had gone away from the Quran, he had gone away from the message of Rasulullah. When you look at the life of the second Khalifa, look at all the battles that he fought. Look at all the battles that he fought. You look at the life of the first Khalifa. What was the first thing that he did? One of the first things that he did before the Holy Prophet passed away, he had gotten an army ready, the army of Osama, and it was supposed to go towards Jordan. And he had told everyone, before he passed away, he had told everyone that I want all of the companions, I want everyone to go into this army, except for Ali ibn Abi Talib. Everyone needs to go into his army except for Amir al-Mu'mineen. The companions, they don't listen. They don't listen. To the point where the narrations, they say that the Holy Prophet, he went on the minbar and he cursed out. And he says, anyone that does not join this army of Osama, may the lanat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be on them. Not just once, but he said he does it 3 times. He sends lanat on who? His companions. 3 times. Who did he send lanat on? His companions. So this is a sunnat of the Holy Prophet to send lanat on those individuals that did not listen to the Holy Prophet. This is a sunnat of the Holy Prophet to send alaykum salam wa rahmatullah, to send lanat on those individuals that did not listen to him. Correct? Of those individuals, the big 3, whatever you want to call them, those 3 were also there. As soon as Abu Bakr became Khalifa, what does he do? He says that everyone needs to go into the army of Osama except for Umar ibn Khattab. The Holy Prophet has already made a decision. He said everyone goes into that army except for Ali ibn Abi Talib. Now Abu Bakr has become Khalifa. He says everyone goes into the army of Osama except for Umar ibn Khattab. Did he not change the command of the Holy Prophet? If that was the last command of the Holy Prophet, that everyone goes into that battle, that would mean that even Abu Bakr needed to be in that battle. Even Abu Bakr needed to be in that battle. But the fact that he changes the command of the Holy Prophet, what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say in the Quran? When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Messenger, they have decided on a matter, it's not becoming for the mu'mineen to have a say in it. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the Messenger have decided on a matter, then it's not becoming of the mu'mineen to have their own right. It's not becoming of the mu'mineen to have their own say in that matter. So did Abu Bakr not put his own say in that matter after the Holy Prophet had already decided? He did. So tell me, was that adalat or was that zulum? Zulum. To what? The command of the Holy Prophet. The commands of the Holy Prophet, even after he passes away, his commands are to be followed. After he leaves this world, his commands are to be followed. When you don't follow his commands, what happens to you? You end up leaving the fold of Islam. You end up leaving the fold of it. One of the first things Abu Bakr did. You look at other things that he did. For example, the Ridda wars, all in the time of Abu Bakr. Why did he have those battles? Why did he have those battles? It's because That was the only way for him to get the Muslims to accept his khilafat. They read the words. When you look at it and you ask the other side, what were these wars about? They'll tell you that, oh, these words were all about all those individuals that had left the fold of Islam. After the Holy Prophet passed away, there were all these Muslims that left the fold of Islam, and Abu Bakr, he fought against them. What was their intention, or why did they leave Islam? When you ask them, you look at narrations, you look at history books, they say that not everyone had left the fold of Islam. You pick up a history book, Tariq, you pick up Tariq Tabari, you pick up Tariq Khulafa. It says in there that, look, there wasn't just one group of people, there were a few groups of people. There were a few groups of people after the passing away of the Holy Prophet. There were a few groups of people that came into existence. One group did not want to pay zakat at all. One group did not want to pay zakat at all. Abu Bakr, he fought against them, claiming that they had left the fold of Islam. Another group, they didn't want to send their zakat to Medina. Abu Bakr fought against them, saying that they had left the fold of Islam. There was a third group. They truly left the fold of Islam. They believed that there was another prophet after the Holy Prophet, and they took him to be prophet. And Abu Bakr fought against them. That's absolutely true. They truly left the fold of Islam. This was the third group. There was a fourth group. They didn't believe in the Khilafat of Abu Bakr. Abu Bakr fought against them too, saying that they have left the fold of Islam. And this was the group in Yemen. This one of the groups in Yemen. Malik bin Nuwaira, he didn't believe in Abu Bakr's Khilafat. He didn't believe in Abu Bakr's Khilafat. Abu Bakr sent individuals saying that zakat is due to him. They asked him, why is it due to him? He's become the Khalifa. How has he become the Khalifa? I was just there in Ghadir. Ali ibn Abi Talib is the Khalifa. We don't accept his Khilafat. We don't accept his Khilafat. What did Abu Bakr's army do? The general, Lanatullah alayhi, killed the people in his tribe, slept with his wife the same night, committed adultery with his wife the same night. He comes back. He comes back to Medina. When he comes back to Medina, he comes back with a lot of pomp. Umar ibn Khattab, he's the one who's standing up. He's saying, how dare you come here this way? You think you've done a service to Islam? What you did was absolutely wrong. And what does Abu Bakr tell Umar? Abu Bakr is the one telling Umar that leave him alone. Leave him alone. They go, Abu Bakr and Khalid bin Walid, they go, they talk. When they talk, Abu Bakr doesn't even condemn him. Khalid, when he asked Khalid, why did you do that? Khalid says, I did that for you. He goes, why? What do you mean? So that can send a message to everyone else that if they don't believe in you to be Khalifa, this is what's going to happen to them. Abu Bakr, he says, okay. And what does he say? He says, that was Khalid's ijtihad. It was his ijtihad. He used his ijtihad, he might be wrong. Is this the type of imam that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted? Is this the type of imam that the Holy Prophet wanted? The verse of the Quran that gets used a lot to prove, alaykum salam wa rahmatullah, the verse of the Quran that gets used a lot to prove that yes, you know what, they were truly imams. Ya ayyuhallazina amanu utiullah wa utiur rasul wa ulil amr minkum. Or you believe, obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and obey His Prophet and obey those individuals that have authority over you. This is the verse of the Quran that gets used. And they say, look, they were ulul amr. Because they were ulul amr, they had authority, it became necessary for us to obey them. But you have to realize when you analyze the verse of the Quran, that the individual that has authority over you has to be similar to the Holy Prophet. Why? Because the verse of the Quran is starting, Ya ayyuhallazina amanu utiullah, obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Correct? Atiullah, obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wa Rasul, and His Prophet. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, can He make mistakes? No, He can't. And then He goes on to Atiur Rasul, and obey the Prophet. Does the Holy Prophet make mistakes? No, he doesn't. وَأَتِوا أُولُو الْأَمْرِ مِنْكُمْ. So now that ulul amr minkum should also be an individual who does not make mistakes. Why? Because the two people that are coming before him do not make mistakes. Do not make mistakes. But what do you have? You have the Islamic Ummah that took Abu Bakr to be Imam. I said what was one of the conditions? That an individual to be an Imam cannot be a zalim. Quran itself made that condition, correct? Someone who worshipped idols for 40 years of their life, what are they considered to be? Zalim. Someone that worshipped idols for 50 years of their life, what are they considered to be? Zalim. They've done zulm on their own nafs. They've considered to be zalim. Someone that worshipped idols for 30 years of their life, what are they considered to be? Zalim. So when you have history books that themselves, they say that Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, they were worshipping idols for 30, 40, 50 years of their life. That means that they were zalimeen. If they were zalimeen, then this uqda of imamat cannot be given to them. It can't be given to them. Because they themselves were zalimeen. Sallallahu Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. One more time, sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. This is why there needs to be an infallible Imam after the Holy Prophet. Why? Because that ulul amr, if that ulul amr is not infallible, if he's non-masoom, if he tells you to do something that is contradicting the Quran, contradicting the Holy Prophet, what will you do? Will you listen to the ulul amr or will you listen to the Quran? If you listen to the Quran, if you listen to the Holy Prophet, then you haven't listened to ulul amr. If you listen to ulul amr, then you have not listened to Quran. There becomes a contradiction there. This is why, in order for that contradiction to not even exist, that possibility to not even exist, the ulul amr also needs to be masoom. If the ulul amr, or when the ulul amr themselves is masoom, then that contradiction, that possibility will not even exist. When the possibility doesn't exist in the mind, then it won't exist out here. But what did the Islamic Ummah do? Anyone that came into power in any way, they made them the Imam. They made them the Imam. And the sad part is, you have so many narrations from in the Sunni sources that say that the Holy Prophet, he said that there are going to be 12 Imams after him. 12 Imams after him. And there's some sources that say that yes, the Holy Prophet even named them. Where a Jew, he comes to the Holy Prophet and he asks the Holy Prophet, Ya Rasulullah, who's going to be representing you or who's going to be your wasi after you? The Holy Prophet, he says, Ali ibn Abi Talib. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Muhammad. He says, Ali ibn Abi Talib. And the Jewish man, he asked him, what about after him? After him is going to be his son Hassan. After him, his son Hussein. After him, his son Ali. After him, his son Muhammad. After him, his son Jafar. After him, his son Musa. After him, his son Ali. After him, his son Muhammad. After him, his son Ali. After him, his son Hassan. And after him, Al-Qa'im. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Muhammad. Name of the book, Janabi al-Mawadda. Sunni scholar who wrote this book. He has the narration where the Holy Prophet, he gives all the 12 names of the 12 Imams. 12 names of the 12 Imams. If you believe that, you know what, this narration is not authentic, no problem. But there's so many authentic narrations that say that after the Holy Prophet, there are going to be 12 Khalifas after the Imam. There are going to be 12 Khalifas after the Imam. Who are those 12 Khalifas? The problem that the majority of Muslims have is that they can't name those 12 Khalifas. If you look at the Khalifas, you have the first 4, that's fine. Then what are you going to do? If you look at Banu Umayyah, then you have Muawiyah lamtullah alayh, you have Yazid lamtullah alayh, You have Banu Marwan afterwards. Then you look at Banu Abbas. Who are you going to take and how are you going to make this hadith come true? If there are 12 Khalifas, then who are those 12 Khalifas? The only school of thought that has an answer to this is our school of thought. That's it. Where we have our 12 Khalifas. These are Khalifas from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Khalifas that we have, they're Khalifas of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Khalifas that everyone else has, they're Khalifas that were man-made. Those Khalifas were man-made Khalifas. The Khalifas that we have, these are Khalifas that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made. This is how you can understand the difference between our school of thought and theirs. After the Holy Prophet, we still stuck with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. After the Holy Prophet, they left Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They went to people like you and I. People like you and I. And I say people like you and I. Why? The first case that came into Abu Bakr, the first case after he became Khalifa, was a case about someone who had drunk some wine. Someone who had drunk wine. They brought him to Abu Bakr, and Abu Bakr, he asked him, did you drink wine? He says, yes, I drank wine. He says, did you not know that wine is haram? He goes, no, I didn't know, and no one had ever told me. No one had ever told me. Abu Bakr, he doesn't know what to do. Umar's standing right there, next to him. And he asks Umar, what should be done? Umar goes, I don't know. Ask Ali ibn Abi Talib. They bring Imam Ali alayhi salam. Imam Ali alayhi salam asks him, what's the problem? Ya Ali, he's drunk wine. He goes, okay. But he's claiming that he didn't know that wine was haram. Imam Ali alayhi salam, he says, okay, so what's the problem? Why do you have a problem with this? You can't even come up with a simple solution to this, and you're sitting there on the masjid of the Holy Prophet? He goes, Ya Ali, what's the solution? The solution is very simple. Take him with 2 other people and go ask in the place that he's staying, wherever he is, ask anyone over there if any one of them recited to him the verses of the Quran which forbid wine to be drunk. If they say yes, then he's lying. Punish him. If they say, yeah, no one recited these verses, then he's telling the truth. Leave him alone. Leave him alone. This was a simple solution. This simple solution Abu Bakr could not even come up with. The case that came into Umar's time, a young boy, he's walking on the street, and Umar ibn Khattab, the narrations, they say that he always used to walk with either a whip in his hand or a cane in his hand to scare everyone. And when they asked him, why do you do that? He said that, look, they will not obey if they're not scared. The people will not obey if they're not scared. That's ajib. When he became Khalifa, he said he was going to rule the way Abu Bakr ruled and the way the Holy Prophet ruled. Abu Bakr never went into the streets with a whip or a stick in his hand. The Holy Prophet never went into the streets with a whip or a stick in his hand. But now he's walking into the streets with a whip or a stick in his hand, saying, oh, you know what? They won't, if they're not afraid, then they're not going to believe. Whose sunnat is he following? It's not the Holy Prophet's. Now he's made his own sunnat. But what's happening? He was walking, this young man, he comes, and he happens to badmouth his mother. He curses at his mother. Not curses, but he was saying some awful things about his mother. Umar, he hears this, and he gets mad at this young man. He goes, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala deprive you. Why are you cursing your mother? Why are you cursing your mother like this? The young man, he tells them, oh Khalifa, my mother, after my father passed away, my mother, she disowned me. And now she's taken everything that my father owned. And she's claiming that I have no right. Even though she's my mother, I was born from her. She's claiming that I'm not hers. Umar, he says, okay, go bring her. He brings her. She says that this young boy is not my son, he's lying. Umar asks, you have witnesses? 40 people from her tribe, they come and they claim the same thing. This young boy is lying. This isn't her mother. The money that she has, everything that she has why? Because her brother had passed away. He left all that to her. Now when Umar hears this, what does he do? He sends him to jail. While he was being taken to jail, Amir al-Mu'mineen runs into him. When he sees Amir al-Mu'mineen, he calls out, Ya Ali, please help me. Amir al-Mu'mineen, he tells the soldiers to stop. And he tells them, what's the problem here? The soldiers, they say that Umar ibn Khattab, he's told us to take him to jail. This is what happened. Amir al-Mu'mineen, he tells the soldiers of who? Umar ibn Khattab. He tells the soldiers of Umar, go take this young man back to him. Go take the young man back to him. The soldiers, without even missing a beat, without even saying, Ya Ali, but he said this, what did they do? They listened to Amir al-Mu'mineen. Without even saying, Ya Ali, but Umar told us, no, they listen to Amir, they take him back. What does it tell you about your hukumat when your own soldiers do not listen to you and they listen to Amir al-Mu'mineen? What does it tell you about your authority? That you truly do not have authority. It's Amir al-Mu'mineen who has authority. Even though he is not on the mimbar of Rasulullah, he still has authority over the people. This is what wilayat of Amir al-Mu'mineen truly is. He doesn't need... Nare, do never stop halfway when you're going to the Nare Haidari. Ya Ali. Amir al-Mu'mineen does not need this mimbar for his authority. Amir al-Mu'mineen does not need it. Amir al-Mu'mineen, he goes back. When he goes back, Umar asks, Ya Ali, what's the matter? I had already decided. Amir al-Mu'mineen, he goes, let me decide this case. Let me decide this case. He goes, Ya Ali, if you can decide better than me, I've heard the Holy Prophet, myself, that one of the individuals who can decide any matter of Islamic fiqh is Ali ibn Abi Talib, so you decide. Amir al-Mu'mineen, he says to the young man, tell me what your case is. Ya Ali, this has happened. My mother, she's disowned me, she doesn't even claim me as her child anymore, and she's holding on to my father's wealth. Amir al-Mu'mineen calls the woman. The woman says the same thing that she told Umar ibn Khattab. She says the same thing. She brings the 40 witnesses. When she brings the 40 witnesses, Amir al-Mu'mineen just says one thing to her. He says to her that, do you give me permission to marry you off? And the woman, she looks at Amir al-Mu'mineen, she said, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, you're Ali ibn Abi Talib, you're the cousin of the Holy Prophet. Of course, you have my permission. Amir al-Mu'mineen, he says to her, then I marry you off to this young man. I marry you off to this young man. He tells Bilal to go get the dowry. Bilal was going to go get the dowry. When he comes back with the dowry, by the time he comes back, this woman, she starts screaming and she says, Ya Ali, you married me off to my own son. You married me off to my own son. Amir al-Mu'mineen, he gets angry at her and he says that if he was truly your son, why did you not say that before? Why did you hide the fact before that he was your son? You brought 40 witnesses who falsified testimony on your behalf. Why? So he could get punished. Do you not have any shame? When he says this lady, she says, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, please forgive me. I take back everything I do. This was one of the instances where Umar ibn Khattab, it's written that he said, if Ali wasn't here, then I would have perished. Over 25 times, in history books, over 25 times he uttered this phrase. If Ali wasn't here, I would have perished. If Ali wasn't here, I would have perished. If Ali wasn't here, I would have perished. And there's a story, Abu Bakr, Umar and Amir al-Mu'mineen, they're walking together. Abu Bakr and Umar, they were tall. Amir al-Mu'mineen, he was tall too, but he wasn't as tall as them. Abu Bakr was on one side, Amir al-Mu'mineen was in the middle, and Umar was on the other side. While they were walking, it was either Abu Bakr or Umar who says, this is lana. Lana, this is us. Lana. Lam is long, Noon is short, the Alif is long. So they were basically trying to tell Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ya Ali, you're short. And Amir al-Mu'mineen, he looks at them and he says, this is lana. Without that noon, there'd just be la. Without that noon, there'd just be la. There'd just be nothing. And there's some deeper meaning to this. But I just want to keep it to that extent. Where without that noon, there'd be nothing. Meaning what? Without me, you two would not exist. You two would not exist. This was them. And what did they do to Amir al-Mu'mineen? His right gets taken away. The imamat that was truly his, the khilafat that was truly his, it gets taken away. Over what? Over political rule. Over political rule. And you see that when these khulafa, before they were khalifas, they were completely poor. After they became khulafa, hundreds of thousands, millions of dirhams. Where were they getting it from? The Muslims. The Muslims today, especially Al Saud, where do you think they learned this from? They're living in their palaces. Where did they learn it from? They learned it from those individuals that gathered the money of the Muslims. The first individual to do that, Abu Bakr, he didn't live in a palace. Umar did not live in a palace. Yes, they took money from Bayt al-Mal, but they did not create their own palaces. They did not create their own houses. The first Khalifa of theirs that did that was Usman, who did that. And that's one of the reasons that the Muslims decided to kill him. But when it comes to this topic of imamat, today, the Quran, it says, there will come a day when every nation will be raised with their imam. The Quran says, there will come a day when every nation will be raised with their imam. Who's the imam of today? That's the question. Who is the imam of today? Will we be raised with the imam of Jama'at? Is that our imam today? The imam of Jama'at? If that's the case, then when it comes to Imam al-Jama'at, there are conditions for that Imam al-Jama'at. There are conditions. And this is what the sad reality is. Muslims, they put conditions for Imam al-Jama'at. Someone who leads prayers. But someone who's supposed to lead the Islamic Ummah, there's no conditions for them? Anyone that comes into power, that's the Imam? How absurd is this? How absurd is this? When it comes to Imam al-Jama'at, for example, do you all know that if your qira'at, one of the conditions is that their qira'at needs to be well. Their qira'at needs to be perfect. If one of the followers' qira'at is better than the qira'at of Imam al-Jama'at, it's not permissible for the follower to follow him. It's not permissible for that follower to follow them. They should pray furada. If you pick up any tawzi, they say this. But this is a condition not just within Shias. This is a condition within Sunnis also. That they have these conditions for just Imam al-Jama'at, but they don't have conditions for Imam al-Muslimin. They don't have conditions for Imam al-Muslimin. And this is what Imam Zain al-Abideen did when he took Muhammad Hanafiya to Makkah. Made sure that the Shias themselves knew that no, there are conditions that need to be met for an individual to be an imam. One of those conditions was the mu'jiza that Imam Zain al-Abideen showed. The mu'jiza that Imam Zain al-Abideen showed. Brothers and sisters, the life of Imam Zain al-Abideen was a life full of sorrow. Where the narrations, they say that Imam, even after the events of Karbala, Imam Zain al-Abideen, he would not smile. Eids would pass, he would not smile. Yes, births happened in his life. He would not smile. Do you know when the first time he smiled was? The first time he laughed? The first time? When the head of Ibn Ziyad was brought to him. That was the time. That was the first time that he smiled. But even when that head was brought to him, do you know what he asked? When Mukhtar had already risen and he was killing all those people, Imam Zain al-Abideen asked the individuals that brought the head of Ibn Ziyad, he asked them, can you ask my friend Mukhtar when the head of Hurma ibn Kahil is going to come to me? When the head of Hurmala is going to come to me? Why was Imam Zain al-Abideen waiting for the head of Hurmala? What was it that Hurmala Lanatullah did that our fourth Imam was waiting for that individual's head? Sallallahu alayka ya Rasulallah. Sallallahu alayka ya Amir al-Mu'mineen. Sallallahu alayka ya Siddiqatu Fatima. Sallallahu alayka ya Hasan al-Mujtaba. Sallallahu alayka ya Gharib al-Ghuraba. Ya Aba Abdullah al-Hussain
Brothers and sisters, why was Imam Zain Abideen wanting the head of Hurmala? If you go back to Ashur, it's Asr Ashur. None of the companions of Imam Hussain are there. None of the ashab of Imam Hussain are there. None of the elder Hashimis are there. It's just Abu Abdullah al-Hussain alayhi salam, and he goes out and he shouts out, Hal min nasiri yansurna. Is there anyone to help us? Is there anyone to help us? When he says this, that's when from the khaymas, that's when from the tents, there's screams that start to arise. When the screams start to arise, Imam Hussain alayhi salam, he goes back to the tents. When he goes back to the tents, he asks his sister Zainab, oh my sister Zainab, why are the women yelling? Why are the women screaming? Why are the women crying? I'm still alive. That's when Lady Zainab, she says, oh my brother Hussein, when you gave out that call about there being a helper, your son Ali al-Asghar, he fell out of his cradle as if to say that he was the one who's going to help you. Imam Hussain alayhi salam, what does he do? He takes Ali al-Asghar into his hands and he says, this is truly what he wants to do. That's when the mother of Ali al-Asghar, she says to Imam Hussain, Ya Abu Abdullah, can you give me my son for a moment? Imam Hussain himself, he gives the son to Rubab. That's when Rubab, she looks at Ali al-Asghar and she says, oh Ali al-Asghar, you know that I'm not one of the Hashimis. Oh Ali al-Asghar, you should know that the worth of my milk, you should know what that worth of my milk is. I don't want you to ever let anything happen to Abu Abdullah al-Hussain alayhi salam. If you do, the milk that I fed you, I will take away that milk that I fed you. Brothers, sisters, the narrations, they say that Abu Abdullah al-Hussain alayhi salam, he goes with Ali al-Asghar, but he doesn't go with him on his horse. He goes with him on a camel. When he goes with him on the camel, when he had him under his abba, the people, they thought that Imam Hussain alayhi salam, he was taking out the Quran, but it wasn't the Quran, it was Ali al-Asghar. Imam Hussain alayhi salam, he looks at that camp and he tells the enemies, oh my enemies, your battle is with me, your battle isn't with this child. This child has been thirsty for 3 whole days. Please give him some water. If you think that I'm the one who's going to give him this water, I'll put him on the ground and you can come pick him up and take the water yourself. Do you not see what he's doing with his tongue? Do you not see what he's doing with his lips? He's taking his tongue out and he's putting his tongue back in. Why? Because he's completely thirsty. Brothers, sisters, the narration said when Imam Hussain alayhi salam, he said this, that's when the enemy told Hurmala, oh Hurmala, cut off the tongue of Hussein. That's when Hurmala, he puts an arrow in his bow and he's about to shoot it. When he's about to shoot it, he lets it go. He does it a second time, he lets it go. When he does it a third time, that's when they ask him, oh Hurmala, why are you afraid? Just cut off the tongue of Hussein. Hurmala says, every time I put this arrow into this bow, there's a woman who appears in front of me and she continues to say, oh Hurmala, what has this child done? Oh Hurmala, you yourself, you have children. What has this child done? Brother, sister, Hurmala, he puts that arrow and he strikes Ali al-Asghar in the throat. When he strikes Ali al-Asghar in the throat, the narrations, they said that Abu Abdullah al-Hussain alayhi salam, he took the blood and he wanted to throw it to the sky. A voice came to the sky, Ya Abu Abdullah, if you throw this blood to the sky, the ni'mat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will cease. Then he takes that blood and he wants to put it on the ground. The voice comes from the ground. Ya Abu Abdullah, if you drop this blood to the ground, if you drop this pure blood to the ground, the ni'mat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they will cease. That's when Abu Abdullah al-Hussain alayhi salam, he takes that blood and what does he do? He just wraps out al-Asghar around his abba and he takes him back. When he takes him back to the camp, he goes 7 steps forward, he comes back 7 steps. Why? Because he doesn't know how to tell Sakina that Ali al-Asghar did not drink any water. He doesn't know how to tell Rubab that Ali al-Asghar has been shaheed. But when he takes Ali al-Asghar back, he tells Rubab, oh Rubab, after I'm martyred tomorrow, these enemies, they're going to trample over the bodies, they're going to sever the heads. What I want to do is I want to bury Ali al-Asghar in the back here. So what does Imam Hussain do? He takes his zulfiqar and he makes a little qabr. He puts Ali al-Asghar in there, he covers that body. When he covers the body after Asr Ashur, the enemies, they were beheading all the bodies. When they were beheading all the bodies, they see that there's one head missing. When they see one is missing, that's when one of the soldiers, he tells the enemies, I saw Hussein, he buried a body back here behind the tent. That's when the enemies, what were they doing? The spears that they had, they were continuing poking them into the ground. They were poking them into the ground. And one of the enemies, he pokes it into the ground and the body of Ali al-Asghar comes onto that spear. Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un.
وَاللَّعْنَةُ اللَّهِ عَلَى قَوْمِ الْكَافِرِينَ. Matam Hussain.
Ya Hussain, Ya Hussain, Ya Hussain, Ya Hussain,
Ya Hussain, Ya Hussain, and Ya Hussain, Ya Hussain, Ya and Ya Hussain, Ya Hussain, Ya and Ya Hussain, Ya तकबीरा कोल समा चलियां शलाहों वीर नसीबे मैं औखे सफर ते वैंदी पईयां ओ मडल हालात अजीबे आजा वे लाले असगर आजा वे लाले असगर आजा वे लाले असगर आजा वे लाले हाय आजा वे लाले असगर आजा वे लाले असगर झूला तेरा झुलावा क्यों रुस गया है बातों सदके मैं वारी आजा वे लाले असगर आजा वे लाले असगर आजा वे लाले असगर आजा वे लाले असगर नाज़नीने डाली करम ज़मीने नाज़नीने डाली करम ज़मीने आजा मैं झोली पाके आजा मैं झोली पाके वाला दीछा बनावा आजा लाले असगर 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 मुहर्रम मोड़ी संगत नमाज़ी छोड़ी असगर मुहर्रम मोड़ी संगत नमाज़ी छोड़ी जोली जुलाल देके जोली जुलाल देके सुखी सो दिया नमावा आजा लाले असगर आजा लाले असगर आजा लाले असगर आजा लाले अमड़ी नारज के छाया बेड़ी नारज के छाया अमड़ी नारज के छाया बेड़ी नारज के छाया आजा मैं तेको पढ़ के आजा मैं तेको पढ़ के सुगरा ताकत सुनावा आजा लाले असगर आजा लाले असगर आजा लाले असगर आजा लाले
Hussain, Ya 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 Hussain, आबिद को जहाँ कशियाता है दर्रा से लगाया जाता है आबिद को जहाँ कशियाता जाता है, आबिद को जहाँ बस आता है, दुर्रों से जगाया जाता है। वो नूर किस नाम पर गैरत से रुकता ही नहीं, गिर जाता है। वो नूर किस नाम पर गैरत से रुकता ही नहीं, गिर जाता है। जब जब बिसरे आवाज़ जरी, जब जब बिसरे आवाज़ जरी, नेज़े पे चढ़ाया जाता है, आबिद को जहाँ बस आता है, दुर्रों से जगाया जाता है, आबिद को जहाँ बस आता है, दुर्रों से जगाया जाता है। पर्दे में मिलाए ख़ैब बना, रोए न मेरा बुला क्यों गए। पर्दे में मिलाए ख़ैब बना, रोए न मेरा बुला क्यों गए। अफ़सोस कि तेरे मन में अब तक, अफ़सोस कि तेरे मन में अब तक ज़हरा फुलाया जाता है, आबिद को जहाँ बस आता है, दुर्रों से जगाया जाता है, आबिद को जहाँ बस आता है, दुर्रों से जगाया जाता है। या हुसैन, 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 या हुसैन। जब मुझे आपके कातिल ने है मारा बाबा, जब मुझे आपके कातिल ने है मारा बाबा, हर तमाचे पे सकीना ने, हर तमाचे पे सकीना ने
अस्सलामु अलैका या रसूलल्लाह, अस्सलामु अलैका या अमीरुल मोमिनीन, अस्सलामु अलैका या सिद्दीक़तु फ़ातिमतु ज़हरा सय्यदतुन निसाइल आलमीन, अस्सलामु अलैका या हसनुल मुज्तबा, अस्सलामु अलैका या गरीबुल ग़ुरबा या अबा अब्दुल्लाह, अस्सलामु अलैका या अली इब्न हुसैन, अस्सलामु अलैका या मुहम्मद इब्न अली, अस्सलामु अलैका या जाफ़र इब्न मुहम्मद, अस्सलामु अलैका या मूसा इब्न जाफ़र, अस्सलामु अलैका अली इब्न मूसा, अस्सलामु अलैका या मुहम्मद इब्न अली, अस्सलामु अलैका अली इब्न मुहम्मद, अस्सलामु अलैका हसन इब्न अली, अस्सलामु अलैका या साहिबुल असर ज़मान, अलमान 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 मिनल फितन ज़मान, वजल्लल्लाहु तआला फर्जक व ज़बूरक वजअलना मिन अंसारिक व रहमतुल्लाहि व बरकातुहू।
बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। अल्लाह